Hi friends. Today's experience is an eye-opener to the most asked questions of where do pets go to after death. This experience will enlighten you in a big way. Kindly stay to the end to fully understand this experience. I have always believed that love is one of the purest things in existence, but I never truly understood it until I experienced the love of an animal. There was something different about the way Aurora, my golden retriever, looked at me. It wasn't complicated or demanding. She didn't care about my flaws or mistakes. She simply loved me for who I was as I was. Every day, she greeted me with joy, whether I had been gone for hours or just a few minutes. She was always there, her eyes filled with warmth, her tail wagging with excitement, as if I was the best part of her world. But love, no matter how strong, could not stop time. When Aurora fell ill, when Aurora was diagnosed with cancer, my world shattered. The news came like a storm, sudden and merciless, leaving no room for hope. One day, she was full of life, running beside me with that boundless energy I had always loved. The next, she was slowing down, her once bright eyes clouded with exhaustion. The disease took her quickly, too quickly for me to prepare. One moment she was there and then she was gone. The silence that followed was unbearable. The house, once filled with the sound of her paws against the floor, now felt empty. I woke up expecting to see her at my bedside, her warm eyes waiting for me to stir. But she wasn't there. She would never be there again. Grief settled over me like a heavy fog. I went through the motions of life, but everything felt meaningless. The days stretched on, colorless and dull. I avoided places we used to go together, the park, the walking trail, even the chair where she would curl up beside me. Each memory was a painful reminder of what I had lost. Loneliness became my closest companion. It was in every quiet moment, in every empty space where she should have been. I had lost more than just a pet. I had lost a friend, a source of unconditional love, a piece of my heart that I knew I could never get back. In my grief, a question weighed heavily on my heart. Where had she gone? I had always believed in life after death, but did that include animals? Could Aurora still exist somewhere beyond this life, waiting for me? I found myself searching for answers, longing to know if the love we shared was truly eternal. It happened on an ordinary afternoon, the kind that blurred into all the others. I had gone out for groceries, barely aware of the world around me, trapped in the fog of my grief. As I walked past a dumpster near my apartment, a faint whimper stopped me in my tracks. At first, I thought I had imagined it. But then, I heard it again, a weak, desperate cry. Curious, I stepped closer and saw a small cardboard box tucked against the wall. Inside, curled up and trembling, was a tiny puppy. It was painfully thin, its fur dirty and matted. Its eyes, dulled by hunger and cold, met mine with a silent plea. Someone had abandoned it, leaving it there to die alone. I hesitated. I had never been particularly fond of animals before Aurora, and even then I wasn't sure I wanted another one. The pain of losing her was still too fresh, and I wasn't ready to open my heart again. But as I stood there, staring at the helpless creature, I realized I couldn't just walk away. Sighing, I took off my jacket and wrapped it around the shivering puppy. I told myself it was temporary. I would take it home, feed it, and nurse it back to health. Once it was strong enough, I would take it to a shelter. That was the plan. But the moment we stepped inside my apartment, I realized this was going to be much harder than I thought. The puppy was nothing like Aurora. It was wild, energetic, and completely untrained. It chewed on my furniture, knocked over anything in its path, and barked at the slightest noise. Every attempt to discipline it ended in frustration. I was already drowning in grief, and now I felt like I was drowning in chaos too. At first, life with the puppy felt like another burden. My days had already lost their meaning after Aurora's passing, and now my once quiet home was filled with constant noise and destruction. I would wake up to find chewed-up shoes, shredded newspapers, and a trail of chaos in every room. Every attempt at training ended in failure. I had no patience, no energy to deal with something so demanding. But despite everything, the puppy, whom I had now named Noah, refused to be ignored. He followed me everywhere, wagging his tail with relentless enthusiasm. If I sat on the couch, he would climb up beside me. If I spent hours staring at the TV, lost in my thoughts, he would nudge my hand with his nose, as if urging me to come back to the present. At night, when loneliness was at its worst, I would feel the warmth of his small body curled up beside me. Something was changing, though I didn't realize it at first. Little by little, the heavy silence in my home was replaced by the sound of his paws padding across the floor, the rhythm of his steady breathing, the occasional bark that broke through my endless emptiness. Noah was growing stronger, and strangely, so was I. He had an unshakable spirit, a will to live that I couldn't ignore. I started waking up earlier to feed him, taking him on short walks, even playing with him despite myself. The darkness that had consumed me after Aurora's death was beginning to crack, and through those cracks, something warm and unfamiliar was seeping in. I had taken Noah in to save him, but the truth was he was saving me. We walked slowly, savoring the afternoon. I had come to cherish these moments, simple, ordinary, yet filled with a kind of quiet joy I thought I had lost forever. Noah had given that back to me. As we reached a crosswalk, I stopped, waiting for a car to pass. A driver slowed down, waving for us to cross. I glanced both ways, then stepped forward, Noah slightly ahead of me. Then, in an instant, everything changed. A deafening roar shattered the calm as two cars, engines screaming, tore out from behind the stopped vehicle. They were racing, reckless, blind to the world around them. Time seemed to slow. My breath caught in my throat as I saw the headlights rushing toward us. I shouted Noah's name, yanking the leash, but it was too late. The impact came like a thunderclap. Noah's body was flung forward, the leash snapping with brutal force. The world spun as I felt myself lifted off the ground. Then, a violent crash, my head striking something hard. I drifted in silence, weightless and unbound. There was no pain, no fear, only emptiness stretching in all directions. I wasn't sure if I was floating or falling. Then, through the darkness, a light began to emerge. It wasn't blinding but warm, like the first rays of dawn breaking through the night. Slowly, the light grew, enveloping me in a peace unlike anything I had ever known. Then, before me, a figure appeared, majestic, radiant, and filled with a presence so overwhelming that I knew, without a doubt, who he was. Jesus. His eyes held a love so deep it reached into the very core of my being, melting every fear, every sorrow. I didn't need to speak. He already understood. Lewis. He called my name with a voice both powerful and gentle. Do not be afraid. At that moment, the weight of my grief, my loneliness, and my pain seemed to dissolve. I felt lighter, as if all the burdens I had carried for so long had been lifted. Then he spoke again. There is something you must know. Jesus looked at me with a depth of understanding that pierced through my soul. There was no need for words. He knew everything. Every ache, every doubt, every tear I had shed in the silence of my lonely nights. And yet, he spoke, his voice filled with love and certainty. Noah was sent to you, Lewis, he said. That day, when you found him, it was not a coincidence. A shiver ran through me as I replayed that moment in my mind. The tiny, trembling body curled inside the cardboard box, the dullness in his eyes, the frailness of his form. I had believed I was saving him, but had I ever considered that he had been sent to save me? Jesus continued, his words unfolding a truth I had never dared to grasp. You and Noah are kindred souls, both wounded, both abandoned, both searching for something beyond your pain. When you took him in, you weren't just giving him life, you were receiving a second chance at your own. The realization struck deep. Noah's chaos had forced me out of my grief. His presence had shattered the suffocating silence of my home. He had been relentless in his love, in his need to be near me, as if he knew, that I needed him just as much as he needed me. Jesus' gaze softened. Have you ever noticed how Noah never left your side? How he listened when no one else was there? How he understood your sorrow without a single word spoken? I had, in the darkest nights, when the weight of Aurora's absence had crushed me, Noah had been there. He had rested his head on my lap, watched me with knowing eyes, and stayed close, never asking for anything but my presence. He had seen my brokenness and chosen to stay. Tears welled in my eyes as I whispered, I never saw it that way. Jesus nodded. Noah was not just a dog. He was a gift, a reflection of my love, sent to remind you that you were never alone. I felt something shift within me, an understanding, a deep and unshakable truth. Noah had been more than a companion. He had been a messenger, a silent healer, a reminder that even in my deepest sorrow, love had never abandoned me. As I stood in that sacred space, everything became clear. The love I had shared with Noah was not just a fleeting companionship. It was something deeper, something woven into the very fabric of existence. Jesus spoke again, his voice calm yet filled with purpose. Animals are not accidents in creation, Lewis. They are part of my design, placed in the world to teach, to comfort, and to reflect my love. I thought of Noah, his unwavering loyalty, his boundless affection, his silent understanding. He had never spoken a word, yet he had healed wounds no one else could see. He had taught me patience, kindness, and the ability to love again when I thought my heart had turned to stone. Jesus continued, the bond between a soul and an animal is not just of this world. Love, in its purest form, does not end with death. It is eternal. Tears blurred my vision as I realized what he meant. I had feared that losing Noah was just another cruel separation, another chapter of loneliness waiting to unfold. But that was not the truth. The love between us, the love I had felt for Aurora, for Noah, had never truly left. It had simply changed, grown beyond the limits of this life. In that moment, Jesus lifted his hand, and before my eyes, a new world unfolded. A place unlike anything I had ever seen. The air shimmered with purity, and the land stretched endlessly, untouched by sorrow or pain. Rivers flowed crystal clear, and golden meadows swayed under a sky more radiant than the brightest sunrise. I saw animals, countless creatures of every kind, roaming freely without fear. Lions rested beside lambs, birds soared in harmony, and every living thing moved in perfect peace. There was no struggle, no hunger, no suffering. It was as if creation had been restored to its original beauty, untouched by the weight of a fallen world. And then my eyes found him, Noah, strong, whole, his spirit shining with life. His tail wagged as he searched for me, his eyes filled with the same love and trust one had always known. My heart ached with joy. He had not been lost. He had been waiting. Jesus spoke gently. This is the world as it was meant to be. One day, when all is made new, every creature that has known love will find its place here. Nothing that comes from God is ever lost. When I opened my eyes, pain shot through my body, but my first thought was not of myself. It was of Noah. Panic gripped me as I turned my head, searching for him. Then I saw him lying motionless on the asphalt, his fur stained with blood, his breathing shallow. My heart clenched. He was still alive, but barely. The days that followed were a blur of hospital visits, prayers, and fear. While my body healed, my soul remained restless. Noah's condition was uncertain. The veterinarians warned me that the impact had been severe, that even if he survived, his recovery would be long and difficult. But I refused to give up. Every day, I sat by his side, whispering words of encouragement, stroking his fur, begging God not to take him from me. The house felt empty without his energy, his presence. I realized then how much he had become a part of me, how deeply I needed him just as he had once needed me. Weeks passed, and then one morning, as I sat beside him, exhausted and broken, I saw it. A flicker of movement, a deep, steady breath. Then, slowly, his eyes opened. They were weak but present, searching for me. Tears blurred my vision. "You're still here, my friend," I whispered. His recovery was slow and painful. Every step was a battle, every small progress a victory. But through it all, we walked the road together. He had fought for his life, just as I had once fought for mine. And in his strength, I found my own. All right, friends, this brings us to the end of today's experience. Kindly like and share this video with your friends and families. Kindly subscribe to our channel and turn on your notification bell icon to be the first to get updated anytime we upload a new experience sent to us. Remain blessed.